Good, thanks for that. We'll kick start. So appreciate everyone jumping on today. This is the series 3 of the Vida Space Live webinar series. Following on the back of the earlier two successful series, we thought we'd bring our colleague in from Decospan again from Belgium. So we've got Maxime here again with us. He's 11 p.m. over their time. I've got some of our team joining from Wellington, Auckland, Levin, and then obviously attendees from all around the country. So really appreciate everyone that's come on. We took the opportunity this time to dig deeper into the details around the veneers, how they're constructed, what the opportunities are for using them in design. So I'll just quickly run through the update on how this will run. I thought we'd just give a quick update from Maxime again, just on how things are going on the other side of the world.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jimmy. Well, good morning, New Zealand. Thank you again for joining my second webinar. Not that much has changed in Belgium for the moment. So basically, our confinement has been postponed until beginning of May, and probably it will again extend to middle of May. So yeah, that's the situation how it is. So the only change that happened now is that DIY shops and garden shops can open again, and let's see what the government will say what can open next again. But most important will be the social distancing here in Belgium. So that's why I give you a little overview for Belgium. So we all understand very well how to keep 1.5 meter. We already translated in the things we know or we love the most. So chocolate, waffles, or beer. So we know how to be safe and how to keep safe. So that's a little bit how it is for Belgium.
That's excellent. I love the positive way of looking at it. It's great. So we'll just give a kickstart today with a quick overview of Decospan. Some would have had this on the early webinar, but just a very quick overview on the scale and the capacity of this partner we've got from Belgium. And Maxime will work through the key steps involved in making timber veneers, following on by some of the design finishes that can be achieved, including looking at some of the pre-finished options which are now possible with the veneers, and then further where these and how these can be used in design. We will have a question and answer available through the whole webinar. At the bottom, you can click on that post of message. We'll look to answer these live where possible, or definitely at the end where we can cover off these. So looking forward to kickstarting this. Also a quick reminder that our earlier webinars are available online and can be viewed in any time, and we'll post this live and follow through with an email link after the session. So with that, all the best, and look forward to what you've got for us, Maxime. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. So for the people that did not attend my last webinar, or maybe that did not pay attention, I will give you a very brief introduction again about Decospan. So Decospan, it's a family company from Belgium. We exist for more than 40 years, and everything we do is about wood veneer. So that's the DNA of the company, and we always want to make a product with wood veneer. So we're specialized in wood veneer panels. To have a little bit an idea about the size of Decospan, we can press up to 9,000 panels a day. We have a stock of 7.5 million square meter of veneers here in Belgium, and we have 9 factories all around Europe. So this is quite briefly to know who Decospan is and to know what we do. But today, I will talk about something very interesting. I want to take you to the whole process of how to create a veneer panel. So at the end of this session, I want you to have good understanding all the steps involved in making a veneer panel, and also giving you some love, some understanding, the craftsmanship and all the different difficulties that can happen in creating a veneer panel. So at the end, it's a very beautiful product, but there's a lot of steps to come to that product, basically. So there are 3 big steps. Step number 1, choose your veneer. Step number 2, choose your support. Step number 3, choose your finish. So it sounds very simple if I say it like this, but of course we will go into detail of every step. So if you would go to the next slide, Brett, you will see choose your veneers. So basically choose your veneers, and I made 4 little steps of this one. So first, you can choose your wood species. Secondly, you can choose your slicing technique. Third, you can choose your jointing. And last one, you can choose your wood grade. So now we go into detail of every different step. And if you have any questions or if I go too fast, don't hesitate to send a Q&A question in the chat here below. So wood species, that's the most simple one, I think. Yeah, there are a lot of wood species available. We already try to put them in different categories, the wood species. You have the light, the brownish, the dark, the reddish, the dull wood species. So we try to categorize them. And in total, we have in stock 165 wood species. Having so many wood species, it's an advantage. So we have a lot of options available for you, but it's also important for us to know where the wood is coming from. So the wood we are buying is it's FSC, and if it's not possible, we have a pure wood charger to be sure that it's coming from a responsible source. Because like I was saying, it's for us, it's a product we're working with, and we want to be in business for a very long time. So we want to do it with the utmost respect as possible. So first one, wood species. Second one, it's slicing technique. So to slice wood veneer, of course, we will need a log. So basically, we start with the log we need, and we're gonna strip it. After that, we're gonna steam or cook the log. So basically, the second picture you can see is where the log is getting steamed. It can be 12 hours, 24 hours, and even longer, depending on the wood species. And why is it so important to do? It makes it possible to slice the wood easily from the log. So in the next slide, you will see a detailed picture or a detailed movie how we slice wood veneer. So depending, I will first let it play. Yes. So as you can see, we can slice the tree in different ways. So here you see 1/4 of the tree that's been selected and been sliced. So we try to have a specific pattern that we want to create. If you would go to the next slide, Brett, there we will see an overview of the 3 most frequently used slicing methods. So basically, we have the crown cut. I think you all recognize it straight with the flame pattern, the one you all know. But how do we get it? So basically, we do the 3 in 2, and then we slice wood veneer out of it. So if you can make the movie, you will see a crown cut, how it's made. Yeah, there is sometimes a little bit a delay on the movie, but basically what do you see? You see half the log and then passing it to the knife. So that's how you receive your first wood veneer. The other one was a quarter cut. So the movie we saw before, you saw quarter, it means fourth. So we cut the log in 4 pieces and we slice wood veneer out of that. We can do it in 2 ways. And that's how we create a regular cut or a rift cut. So with the quarter cut, we always mean the straight lines that go down. So those are the most frequently used slicing methods. The next one, so we already discussed the wood species, we discussed the slicing, and now we will go to the jointing. But of course, how is it arriving at our office in Belgium, at our factory? Big pallets of wood veneer, of wood bundles are arriving. So first we have to sort them again to be sure that they have the right quality and the right length. When they have been sorted, we go to the next step. And the next step is the jointing technique. So the 2 most common jointing techniques are slip match and book match. How is a slip match done? Basically, it's very simple. So the operator has in front of him the bundle of veneer. So he has a bundle of veneer and he has a machine. First of all, the bundle of veneer, when you have the veneer, it gets edge glued. So there is glue on the edge of the veneer. You don't see it, but it's done in a previous step. And then the operator is putting the slice of veneer into the machine. And then again, the next one. The machine goes down, and then basically with temperature, high temperature, the glue is reacting. and the veneer is together. So you have the start of your sheet of veneer. So that's the slip match. It's very easy. You just slip in the veneer. The next one is the book match. The book match, as you can see on the picture, you want to create a mirror, basically. So how does it happen? I made a little movie because that's a bit easier to understand. First, the operator is slicing, if you could back one more, and make the movie, Brad, that would be amazing, thanks. So the operator is basically sliding in one veneer, after that turning it, and again sliding, turning, sliding, turning, sliding. So we're creating a book, a mirror. So that's why, of course, it's called book matched. So jointing techniques, we discussed the slip matched and we discussed the book match. The third one, and that's what I talked during the last webinar as well about, is the mix match technique. So the mix match technique is something we love at Decospan. Why? Because it's something else than what the others do, basically. With the mix match, it's also called an alternative for the plank effect. So with the mix match technique, you really have the feeling of a solid wood effect. You can mix match quarter cuts, you can mix match crown cuts. So there are, again, a lot of possibilities possible. We at Decospan, we created an own machine to make the best mix match possible. So basically, if you would go to the next slide, you will see the preparation table. So here we prepare the bundles of veneer. So it's all different bundle of veneers of different trees, all from the same species. And the operator is selecting one by one the bundle of veneer. She's adding it on another table, making the most beautiful match mixing possible. And this is becoming one full sheet of veneer. So to have a good understanding, on the next slide, you will see different types of mix matching. So what did we already learn? Wood species, slicing technique, jointing technique. So the wood species here, it's an American walnut. The first picture, it's a quarter cut, and the jointing technique, it's a mix match. So we're gonna mix match the quarter cuts, so the straight lines. The second picture, the middle one, it's a mix match of a crown cut. So we're gonna mix crowns to each other, okay? And the third picture is where we mix a crown and a quarter cut. So those are all examples of mix match, but we are playing a little bit with the jointing technique to still have a different outlook. So that was briefly about the jointing techniques. The last step is go to the next slide, Brett. The last step is the wood grades, okay? So with the wood grades, we're gonna look at the figure, we're gonna look at the color difference, we're gonna look at the knots. There are different criteria the operator is looking at, and depending on those criteria, we give it a quality. So we have the best quality, the architectural quality, we have a classic quality, and we have a commercial quality. And very much depending on the application of the panel, you can use a commercial quality if you, for example, want to color it very dark, or you can use the architectural quality if you really want to have it as the panel that everybody looks at. So there is nothing wrong with the commercial quality, it just depends on the application you want to do with the panel. So to have it again, all very brief, because it's a lot of information I can imagine. Choose your veneer. Choose your veneer. We were talking about wood species, so a oak, a walnut, an ash, and go on. You have the slicing technique, that was the quarter cut and the crown cut. You have the jointing technique with the book match, the slip match, and the mix match. And then you have your wood grade, where we're gonna look at how the full sheet of veneer is looking like, and we're gonna give it a quality. So this is the first step, choose your veneer. The second step is choose your support. So with choose your support, it's a bit more simple. We have a panel, or we have another option, such as a paper backing or a HPL backing. With the panel, I want to show you again how it works. So we have the panel. we're gonna glue the panel and we're gonna let the veneer glide onto the panel. Then it goes into the press. So it's a low temperature, high pressure press, and we can press up to 8,000 panels a day. So this is the basic of pressing a panel. Of course, I'm saying a panel, but what can we understand with the term of panel? We have a lot of different types of panel. If you go to the next slide. Basically, the most common panels are a chipboard, a plywood board, and an MDF board. So those are very common panels, but within those types, you also have a lot of subcategories. Let me focus on the MDF boards. Just on the picture, you already see something that's green, something that's red, something that's black, something that's thinner, something that's thicker. So you can see there are a lot of different options. So the one that is green, for example, we call it a moisture resistant panel. The one that's red, we call a fire retardant panel. The one that's black, yeah, of course, a black one. And then the normal brownish color, that's the normal color of an MDF panel that we usually give. With the chipboard, the same. You also have the colors to easily see if it's a moisture resistant panel or not. And then with plywood, you have different types of plywood even. So that's to have a little bit an idea in the terms of possibilities and panels you can choose from. You have panels that are 2.5 meter, 3 meter long. So yeah, there's a lot of things possible. Another option is the flex or the HPL. So with the flex, we have a paper backing on our veneer to make sure that we can flex on surfaces to have more volume. The HPL, we have a high pressured laminate, and that allows to, for example, have a veneer, pre-finish it, HPL, and then press it locally on the support board that you want. Okay. So how to create a veneer panel? Again, choose your veneer, choose your support, choose your finish. So we covered already your veneer and we covered already your support. Within your finish, you have two big options. So you can add structure to your panel by brushing it or scratching it, and you can color your panel and finally lacquer it. So this is to become to the end result to have a veneer panel.
When you're referring to the scratching finish, that's also known commonly as the sawn finish, isn't it? The horizontal saw marks.
Yes, exactly. It's something we will go more into detail when we talk about the brands. We will talk about different scratches and possibilities. If you would go to the next slide, Brett. Yeah, here I want to show you there are endless combinations possible. And as you can see, yeah, you can choose your wood species, you can choose your slicing, your jointing, your grading, your panel, your structure, and it's getting very dangerous to get lost in all the different options. So yeah, it's a little bit like a web. You can get stuck, and we want to find a solution for that. So from that perspective, Decospan was thinking, okay, we can make every panel that you want, but how can we make wood veneer accessible? How can we make it easy for people to choose their wood veneer, to choose their panel? So from that perspective, we created brands, we created different collections. The three main collections that we are at the moment bringing is called Querkus, Nordus, and Shinnoki. Every brand, every collection has a specific focus. So we want to respond to a trend, we want to offer a solution, we want to create an experience. So that's always the idea of a brand, to give you something more, to make it easy for you to choose. So the first one I want to talk about is Querkus. So Querkus, the name itself, it's Latin. In Latin, it's written with a C instead of a K, and it means oak. So I think the name itself already explains a lot of the collection. With Querkus, we're going to focus only on European oaks. So very easy, the wood species is going to be European oak. So Querkus, it's all about European oak. You would think, okay, European oak, that's it. No, with European oak, we're going to create all different trendy looks. We're going to give you options to add a structure, and we're going to give you a guide to step-by-step build your products. So it's quite interesting by just working with oak to give you still a lot of options available. So how does it work? You have 3 steps. Step number 1, you can choose your look. Step number 2, you can choose your thickness. Step number 3, you can choose your touch. So I will start with the look. We have the Querkus Natural. As you can see, you see 3 different panels. You have the Adagio, Allegro, Vivace. The Adagio and Allegro, they are more premium. So we don't allow any knots. And as you can see, we already did a selection for you. So with Adagio, we did a selection of mix match and of quarter cuts. Okay. With the Allegro, we did again a mix match, but here we do a mix match of quarter and half crown cuts. And the last one, the Vivace, we're gonna do a mix match of everything, and we're gonna even allow knots. So basically, we are making a selection for you, but still we give you an option to choose from. So this is the whole idea of Querkus. So you have the natural one. The next one of the look you can choose from is a vintage look. And if you attended the webinar of 2 weeks ago, I give you a little bit more insights about how we create this panel. So the vintage Harlem, Hoboken, and Baltimore are veneers that we recycle, reuse. So basically, we use the old sleepers or the old barns from in Croatia. We use the wood, we slice it, we lay it again on a panel, and we put a black paper below, and we allow the cracks to stay. So the default in the woods, it's a feature. So that's the vintage Harlem, Hoboken, Baltimore. We also have the retro collection where we're gonna say, okay, it's a lot of knots in the vintage, so we're gonna do a little bit a light version of the vintage collection. So the retro, it's basically the light version, so less cracks, less knots of the vintage collection. And the last one is the embossed one. So with the embossed one, we're gonna allow a lot of structure into the wood. So there we start from 5.5 millimeter of veneer. So it's basically a veneer and a plywood, and it gets embossed to come to a new structure. So this is the vintage look. And the last look you can choose from is a smoked look. And within the smoked look, we choose for a light smoke, so the Arabica, a very dark smoke, the Robusta, and one where we're gonna say, okay, let's mix them all, the Havana. So within the Havana, we have a light and a dark smoke. So that's basically the 3 looks you can choose from as a first step. So if you decided which look you like the most, we go to step 2. Step 2 is quite easy. Step 2 is about the thickness of the veneer. Why do we allow you to choose a different thickness? Well, basically that's for step 3. So we allow you to choose a different thickness from 0.6 up to 2 and even 3.5 millimeter for the embossed, is because we want to allow you to give it a different touch. So step 3 is touch. With touch, we're gonna talk about brushing and scratching. So you have within the brushing 3 different brushes. You have a type B1, a B2, and a B3. And here for a type B1, it's called a light brush. So for a light brush, we don't really need a very thick veneer. But if you say, I want to have a very strong brush, then you need, for example, a type B3 brush, and you need a thick veneer to allow this very deep brush. So that's why we have this option to choose your thickness. With the scratches, or as Jimmy already mentioned, the sawn effect, we have the very traditional one. The type is one where we just have a straight sawn effect. But of course, we want to give you a full experience with the brands. So we want to give you different options. So that's why together with R&D, we start looking, okay, what does the market like? What does designer like? And that's why we designed different types of scratches. So you have like the wave effect, a random effect, an effect that goes down. So again, we want to give you a lot of options to choose from. And even we have the D1, the distressed, where randomly we add hits to the wood veneer to give you a little bit old look. And then the last one is the embossed, and that's what I was talking about. And I think you can also see it on the picture. There is a very deep structure into the wood, and this we can only do because we work with a thick wood veneer that we emboss to create this kind of structure. So
Maxime, it's probably worthwhile just touching on the fact that the Querkus is a completely unfinished range as far as there being no oil or lacquer on it. So could you give a quick overview on what can be done as far as finishing the Querkus range goes?
Okay.
With the unfinished oil or the lacquer sort of finishes, just to give the flexibility like shown in those photos there.
Yeah. So basically with the pictures, I think you see a good overview. So picture number one, it's just a very traditional vivace. So the vivace, it was the natural look where we allow knots and we're gonna mix match the oak veneers. But of course, on the picture, you see a finish. So what does Decospan offer? We always offer within the Querkus collection an unfinished pen. So that's a start. A second thing we can offer you is the invisible oil. With the invisible oil, you have the second picture. You go as close as possible to the raw veneer that you see. So the raw samples that you will see, we want to go as close as possible to that. So that's why we have the invisible oil. So basically, we don't want you to have a big difference to the original sample you saw. And the first picture, I go back to the left one. There you see a finish. So this is something we did not do. It's something the local carpenter did with a special oil, a special color to create his own look. So that's the beautiful thing about Querkus. We give you an unfinished panel. And then basically, if you want to stay as close to the natural look, okay, we can offer you the invisible oil, or you can go as crazy as you want. And together with someone local, you can really create the color you want. So this is Querkus. And of course, yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful project that VidaSpace completed in New Zealand. If you could, yeah. So I talked about Querkus as the first brand. The second brand I want to talk more about is Nordus. So with Querkus, it was all about oak. It was giving you the option to add structure to the woods, scratches, brushes. With Nordus, we start from a different perspective. We start from the perspective of the Scandinavian look. So the very modern look. It's already for a couple of years very trendy, and it keeps on being trendy. So with Nordus, we select different types of wood species, and we encourage creativity to the designer. So we have 8 designs in total, and the wood species we have selected for you, it's again, most of them are mix match. It's within the larch, the spruce, the pine, and the birch. And basically, we already decide we're gonna brush everything, and we give you the option to choose between 0.6 or 1.5. The 0.6, we're gonna brush slightly. The 1.5, we're gonna brush heavily. And I was saying before, we want to encourage creativity. We want to have you as a designer, as a carpenter, as anyone to give an extra dimension to it. So basically the picture you see now in front of you, it's all the same. So we start from the first picture on the left, the spring larch, and then it's all different kind of finishes to create the color you want. So Nordus is really all about giving creativity to you. And how do we encourage that? We have a special box with more than 10 different small samples of colors, and then you can just try it out yourself. So that's really the beauty of this brand, to really let you try and discover. And a very beautiful example, again, a project from New Zealand, as the port pleats, where they did a beautiful, beautiful finish on the spring larch. So this is the Nordus collection. What's very important for me to say, we have just discussed the Querkus collection and the Nordus collection. So it's also all those panels we are stocking in New Zealand. So it's very easy for you to have a sample or to have a small amount of panels. It's in stock in New Zealand. And the second thing, with the brand, we want to give you a full experience. So what does that mean? It means we have matching edge banding available. We have edge banding available in a thickness of 0.6, sometimes in a thickness of even up to 2 millimeter. We have edge banding available where we continue with the scratching and the brushing. So we want to give you really a full experience. The last brand I want to talk about is Shinnoki. So Querkus and Nordus, those were two unfinished panels. With Shinnoki, we want to give you a total solution. So we want to give you a ready-to-use panel. So it's a pre-finished panel. So that's really something, yeah, something different. We're gonna offer you a panel that's totally ready. So basically, we already selected together with a lot of our partners 16 trendy colors. And of those 16 trendy colors, in New Zealand, we're stocking 10 at the moment. And the idea of Shinnoki is to give a cost and time-saving solution, and to give you, in terms of wood veneer, a high consistency. Of course, if you have a project with a lot of panels and you have to finish them, you have to put a color on them, it's very difficult to keep a consistency through the whole project. So here we really want to give you a solution, and also to choose a color that's already pre-finished, so really to see the end result in front of you. So we're gonna finish the panel with a UV cured acrylate urethane lacquer. And of course, like I was saying, it's a whole experience. So this whole range is FSC certified. And we have it in stock in MR panels in New Zealand. And we have, again, matching timber and ABS bending, edge bending. So with Shinnoki, what I was saying, why is it so special? And the other steps, we really start from a wood species, a slicing technique, a jointing technique. With Shinnoki, we don't talk about it. With Shinnoki, we propose you 16 different designs. So basically, you choose a design, and everything has already been decided. So it's very easy, it's very accessible. It's really like, this is really the one, if you want to work with wood veneer and you don't want to have any troubles, Shinnoki is really the solution that we can offer to you. So in terms of colors, we have 4 big categories of colors. We have the very natural colors, where we have four tones in. We have more the grayish colors, very popular at the moment. So that's why we have 6 different options at the moment. We have the earth tones, where we have 3 colors. And if you remember very well, my presentation of 2 weeks ago, I was talking about color trends from the Milan Design Week. So probably for the next collection, we will offer more designs in the earth tones as well. And then as last, we have the dark tones, where we can go to the darkest as possible with the raven oak. Why can we go so dark? The secret of the raven oak is that we're gonna dye the veneer. So that's why we can go to this very, very black color in the Shinnoki range. What can you do with your panel? Well, basically, the options are endless. You can use it as cabinetry, as just a wall panel. And as you can see on the picture on the right, it's a good example of the edge bending. So you can really have a full look with the color that you want. But most important, and where it has been used already a lot, is within kitchens. And that's also the reason why we stock it in New Zealand with an MR panel. So it's very easy that you can use a Shinnoki panel into your kitchen design. And that's why we also have the ABS edge banding to have a very strong possibility to use the furniture and not to worry about it. So basically, that's the Shinnoki brand. So we just talked about our three main brands. So Querkus, it's all about oak and adding a structure to the oak. Nordis, it's all about the Scandinavian look and giving more creativity. And Shinnoki, it's all about easy to use products and really make it for you as easy as possible by just choosing a design. But of course, if you want to go really into detail, we have the Bespoke. So that's why this was this first part of this webinar, of this training, to really start to understand what are the options possible to choose a panel, which details do we need to be able to give you the panel that you want. So a bespoke project, for example, this is from a project in Paris, where the architect really chose a very specific wood species, so the rosewood Santos. As the slicing technique, he chose for a crown cut. I think it's a very clear picture where you can see this crown. Then he chose for a book match. So as you can see, the veneers have been book matched. It's like a mirror. And I think you can all agree it's an amazing quality. So yeah, this is an architectural quality. So this is an example of a very small project. But of course, we also do this customization for very large projects. So the next one, it's from a picture from the Netherlands, where we did a whole university campus with wood veneers that the architect selected from us. He came to Belgium, selected the veneers himself, and basically choose a project and choose the wood he wants. Of course, it's easy for me to say, come to Belgium and choose your veneer. That's a little bit difficult if you live in New Zealand on the other side of the world. But I have some good news for that. Basically, every bundle of veneer that is arriving at Decospan, we are scanning. So every bundle of veneer that's coming into our warehouse has been scanned. And at the moment, we are creating an application that it will be possible from distance to choose your wood species and to really choose a book of veneer that is in stock in Decospan and see a kind of a simulation how it would look like as a book match or how it would look like as a slip match. So this is something we're working on, and I will definitely update you when this application is ready to go. For the moment, what do we do most of the time? We have our veneer house in Belgium, and it's a little bit an inspiration room. It's the same idea as we set up in the showroom in Auckland. We call it the black box. So it's a whole wall with panels, and you can take out basically the panel, and then you see a very specific wood species, which one side is pre-finished, one side is unfinished, and where the architect can have a good example how will this wood species look like. I'm just talking about an ebony Makassar. It's a very specific wood species, so it's nice to see a real example of it. So that was a short introduction about, or I would not call it introduction anymore, but just an overview about how to make a wood veneer panel and how we want to make as Decospan wood veneer accessible again by creating different brands or helping you to create the panel that you want step by step together with us.
Excellent, thank you, Maxime. We're very pleased to work with you. We can see your passion for wood as we have, and so that's why we're pleased to work with Decospan, the passion about wood and sustainably sourced wood at that. So we're very pleased to work with their products, both, as you can see, because of the innovation and that design inspiration coming from Europe as well. So just to quickly summarize what we're doing here in New Zealand. As you know, we have showrooms in Auckland and Wellington. It's obviously critical for wood to be able to see these natural products on scale. So that's places you can come to do that. Of course, it's a little bit difficult at the moment, but if you want a virtual presentation, do reach out. The Veneer Book, some of you may have seen, this summarises what we stock in New Zealand, support your projects with, and gives you an indication of pricing in that as well. And yeah, so we have had a few quick questions come in throughout the presentation, which we can quickly touch on. Others, Jimmy can pop in with some as well, but just really quickly, Maxime, so you've talked about the flex and the panel and things. What's the sort of limitation to a panel in terms of size, and would you change to a flex or something that's more adaptable?
Yeah. For panels, we can easily do a panel of 3 meter long on 1.2 meter, finish it, brush it, and go on and go on. It's also possible for us to go to more an industrialized size. So, for example, if you want to have a panel up to 4.5 meter and with a width up to 3 meter, it's basically possible for us. But then it will only be a panel with wood veneer pressed on top. So then we cannot pre-finish it anymore. Because our pre-finished lines are limited in size. So in terms of pressing, we can go to an extra large size, but then it's just pressing the veneer onto the panel.
That's good. Just quickly on that, as far as the Shinnoki goes, just a question about the actual finish on it. So what is the actual Shinnoki finished with, and how does it perform?
The wood or the lacquer we use?
The lacquer finish on it, the UV lacquer?
Yeah. So the UV lacquer, we give it as an advice. It's perfect for everything, to use it as a wall panel, but we don't give it as an advice to use it as a tabletop. As a tabletop, we prefer that you take unfinished veneer and you pre-finish yourself with a stronger oil. So it can handle a lot, but it's not made to use as a tabletop. I think that's the most important thing to remember for Shinnoki. If it's a low traffic, if it's a desk, it's no problem. Imagine if there would happen something with it, if there would be a scratch. We always have matching pens to color a scratch. So if there's something would happen, we have the tools to repair it. But the main use of the Shinnoki panel is basically as cabinetry, as vertical usage.
Excellent. Any more questions, Jimmy, from your side? Any more that have come through in the chat that we need to respond to?
Just one other that Maxime's probably briefly covered on there, but obviously concern is around pre-finished, using that compared to an unfinished and finishing it in the joinery factory. Is that with the pre-finish, how is it protected during the manufacture process so that there's not damage or that's minimize the risk?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So like I was saying, we want to give you a solution. If we would give you a pre-finished panel and we would not protect it, it's very difficult to cut it to size. So that's why at Decospan, we put a protective foil on top and on the back, and that makes it very easy for the joiner to locally cut it and not have any scratches. And basically, he can leave the foil on top until the very last end. So just the moment he wants to show the project, he can take it off and it has been protected the whole way. So that's why we want to give you a solution. We want to give you the full experience with the brands.
Just a couple more just come in quickly. One from Christine Dawson around how can we purchase the correction pens in New Zealand? So yes, they are stocked and they're used obviously if there's any damage, or also to help the edge banding on that Shinnoki. And just the second one, Maxime, would be pretty good if you could answer that, is how does the Shinnoki perform in bathroom applications?
Yeah, so I think it's always important. We're working with wood veneer. So for bathrooms, we always recommend to use an MR panel. That's it. It's still wood veneer. So it's not a purpose to use it where the sink is. and use it as a horizontal usage where the sink is. The damage of water is a too big kind of risk, but if you would use it as a vanity, we don't see any problem to do that.
Well, great. Thanks, Maxime. I think that wraps up today's session. So we will be releasing another series on this. We will confirm this shortly, so keep an eye out for updates across our social and other methods of getting in touch with you. So we're still working here in New Zealand. If you want to learn about how we can support your projects with stock and the like of what Maxime's gone through today, do reach out. So you may know someone personally and you can contact them. Otherwise, we do have some key contacts. Of course, our website has our products on there. You can call us still or email us at info@vidaspace.co.nz. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. We appreciate your time and we trust it's been useful. Do fill out the survey that we send out after this, and we'll be pleased to get your feedback and direction on how we can make these more valuable for you in the future. Thanks all, and we will see you next time.
Thanks very much, Maxime. Appreciate you joining.
Thank you very much. Have a good morning.